Hello there YouTube. So this video will be documenting an absolute steal I managed to get from my local cash generator. Let's pop in there from time to time just to see what guitars they have, and this one really caught my eye, mainly because of the finish, which you'll see shortly. Also, it was dropped from £180 to £130 when I got it, so it was a no-brainer to pick this one up. Now this video is going to be very different to all my previous work. When I was going through and getting the slideshow set up, I realised I only have like 7 photos of what I did to this guitar. So rather than having a really stretched out slideshow, figured I'll talk through all the specs, any issues I had, the modifications I made, and then I'll do a sound demo at the end. And I'll play the slideshow just before that sound demo, because I've got some music from a free-to-use website. So that'll be playing in the background. I managed to find an ESP decoder online, so I actually found out a lot of information about this guitar. So it was made on the 21st of February in 2010, production number 57, and it was made in Indonesia. The body itself is made from basswood, and it has a flame maple top, which when you see it, it looks fantastic under the see-through black finish. And it's super light as well, and it also has a thin U-shaped neck contour, which just makes it so easy to play. I mean, when you include the 10-inch radius as well, the very light weight of the guitar, it's just so comfortable to play, and that's one of the things that attracted me to it as well. And the pickups are ESP designed LH-150s. And the guys in the shop were really cool. They let me play the guitar before I wanted to buy it. Obviously, I was already going to buy it because the finish just really got to me. But they also were really nice as well. They gave me a free bag to get it home safe. The weather wasn't the greatest the day that I picked it up. And all the hardware had this really nice black nickel finish to it, apart from one of the control knobs. One of them was chrome. Now, this originally led me to believe that they modified it in some way, so whilst I was doing a test play on there, trying to pull it, nothing happened. And it turns out that the previous owner had lost the original control knob. Now, from my experience with the stock style control knobs, I can assume that it wasn't tight enough, it's fallen off, and they've lost it. So they replaced it with a chrome push fit one. It's really annoying me though, so I went to take the control knobs off. This is where I noticed a major issue. When I got this guitar home, I went to take the control knobs off to see what exactly was happening, because it was annoying me why they'd switched out the stock one. So the chrome one, not a problem at all. The stock black nickel one has a grub screw, which, give me a second, I have a lot of spare parts, so give me a minute to find it. There we go. Right. So one of the stock one had, just checking I don't still have it, a grub screw like this. So obviously you tighten these to the point where they're secure. Well, they over-tightened it, and I could not get it off. I mean, I did everything. I sprayed it with WD-40, you name it, I did it. And I was sat there and I'm like, I'm gonna have to break this guitar to get this thing off. Luckily, I managed to get a pair of pliers on the part itself on the inside of the control cavity and on the control knob itself, and I just had to twist. Thankfully, I got it all off. Now, the control knob was wrecked. I mean, even if I had protected the control knob, I only had one. So I was like, all right, fair enough. I'll replace it and I'll get 2 more. Because my original plan was to use the stock pickups, because I don't just go straight out and change for EMGs. I like to have different sounds. Yeah, that's when I looked at the control knob and went, well, that's not going to work. So, because they'd over-tightened the grub screw, they crushed the shaft of the pot, which, give me a second, luckily this one's easy to find. I'll show you what I mean. Now, I don't have the original one, obviously I threw it away, but these are little EMG pots that I use. I've shown you these before, and obviously they're split shaft. So what they've done is they've over tightened on this side, which with the pot being in the control knob, put pressure on this and it pushed into this and crushed it. And I was like, great. Now, I wanted to use the original pickups. So even if I use the same one, I would again have to do what this person did, over tighten it, which eventually over time would damage it. Now, as I've mentioned previously, I can't solve to save my life. So the easiest alternative was to the 8185 out of my BC Rich Warlock and install those. But the first stage of these builds, obviously because I'd taken the 8185 in black out, I decided to go with black hardware, which I thought originally was going to work really well because of the flaming on the see-through black finish and the maple top, but it more blended in rather than stood out. And then I was sat there and I looked and I realised that SBH1, my first kit build, I'd taken it all apart and had some gold hardware sitting there doing nothing, and a gold 8185. So I thought, let's see how this looks in this guitar. Boy, was I right to do this. So the first few parts that I installed onto this guitar was the pickups, control knobs, switch, and I did replace the black screws on the original pickup surrounds for gold screws, same with the control cavity. And then by this point as well, SBH2, my second kit, had also been taken apart. So I also had a spare set of gold pickup surrounds. And I also had the gold 3x3 locking Grovers. So I decided to install those instead. I was so glad I did that as well. After a while of having it set up, and the standard configuration for the wiring is a master volume, master tone, and a 3-way switch, I suddenly realised I've got the EMG afterburner sat doing nothing. I thought, why not? Now, the only problem I had was because this is a 2 pickup guitar, I couldn't just switch out the master tone for the afterburner. It is possible to do it, but that's for only a 1 pickup guitar. So I needed to drill a new control hole. Now, the way that I figured this one out is I measured the distance between the stock controls, found the equal distance between them, and then measured the distance between the switch and where I wanted to put the control. Now, the main reason I did this is to make sure that the switch was still accessible to me. The way I have my guitar set up may seem different to some. So I set it up so that whilst I'm playing, I can change pickups without even thinking about it. So it's actually angled towards the fretboard. So as I'm strumming, I can just go like this. So whilst I'm still midway through playing, I can change my pickups. So it's not really, I'm not thinking about it. You may have noticed that on my BC Rich, but I've never really touched on it. It's just a weird thing that I've found. Like, I always thought to myself, well, they're always traditionally like up and down. But if I angle it just a little bit different, it makes life so much easier. So once I found my mark, I needed to drill through a new control hole. Now, I didn't want to damage this finish at all, so there was no way I was going from a control cavity through the finish, because that would potentially cause tear out, even if I had another block of wood behind the where the hole was going to be. So I went through the finish into control cavity, and because I started with a smaller drill bit and gradually worked my way up to the size that I needed, the finish stayed intact. And it does mean that the wiring now is neck volume, bridge volume, and then the afterburner. So I've removed the tone control. If I'm being honest, I always have that thing set to full anyway. It's very rare that I ever changed it, but it doesn't actually alter the sound of the pickups that much. if anything, is even more badass when you activate that gain boost. Really cool feature. Right, that's pretty much covered everything that I've done to this guitar. So what I will do now is I will start the slideshow and I will talk to you again in the sound demo. Alright then, so here we have it. This is my absolute steal I got from CashGen, the ESP LTD F-100FM. So the F stands for the F series, which is the shape of this guitar. The FM stands for flame maple. So you may have seen in those photos, but I mean, just look at this. It is absolutely gorgeous. I love the finish on this thing. Pickups, as you can tell, work really well with this gold hardware. And the only things I have to replace are the bridge, string through ferrules, and the output jack. But to be fair, it doesn't really bother me right now. They work, and I'm quite happy with how they are. Eventually one day I will change them though. On the back, all I did was add new screws to the control cavity. I mean, the neck, I just left this. I mean, it's a natural neck. It just has a little bit of finish to it, but it doesn't make your hand stick to it. You literally can glide up and down this fretboard, no problem whatsoever. Now, this control cavity, as you can see, is huge for what's actually in there. So originally, there was only these two controls and this switch. So thank you, ESP LTD. You guys clearly left me enough room to be able to do any modifications that I wanted. I mean, the battery fit in this perfect when I just had the 8185 in it. Then I added a gain boost, which is right there, and I still had the battery in it as well. So I have all that in such a big cavity. I didn't have to route any extra channels. I was so happy with it. So this guitar is tuned to C standard. Now, in a couple of my other videos, you may have spotted the t-shirt. I'm an Hailstorm fan. Their tuning is C standard. Now, Hailstorm, they are probably one of the more complicated bands that I've tried to learn. I've always been more of a rhythm guitarist than a lead guitarist. Do know some lead bits, but not as much. So I am still learning these, so if I mess up, please don't judge me too harshly. I will eventually get there. But in comparison to my BC Rich video, where I had the Guitar Pro track playing and my laptop was about here, and you heard them both, and it actually worked really well. I was very happy with the levels and everything. But obviously that was just guitar-based drums. Hailstorm, of course they have more than that. They have obviously guitar-based drums, keyboard, guitar, everything. So This has probably been a couple of days since I recorded the original parts of this video, because I've been trying to figure out the levels right. The easiest solution was to give you guys just the raw sounds of the guitar through the amp. Obviously you'll pick up a little bit of the strings, but there's not much I can do without, considering I'm just recording through my phone at the moment. But what I've managed to do is, I've actually managed to connect these Bluetooth headphones that I use all the time to my laptop with a Bluetooth transmitter. Now, I was worried about this originally because I tried using that through my amp and there was a little bit of a delay, so it didn't work, but done a few test plays, done a lot of outtakes, and it actually works really well. So I'll be able to track, but you guys won't. And you may see me bopping around and, you know, making weird noises and faces and whatever, because I really like these songs. So my plan is, I'm going to play the intro to Drink, and I'm going to do it on the neck pickup, which is the 85. I'll play it up until the point just at the end, before the acoustic part kicks in, so just before the verse. Restart the Guitar Pro track, hit my gain boost, and play it again for you. What I'm going to do after that is I'm going to switch to the 81 of the bridge position. Same thing, I'll play a part of the song, restart it, activate gain boost, play again. The second one I'm going to do keel hold. Now, normally it is played on a guitar, but I've seen him play it on guitar live and it sounds amazing. I was so proud when I learned this. Now, I haven't played it for a while, so I may mess up. Hopefully I don't mess up too much, but without further ado, here comes the intro to Drink by Hailstorm. Too bad. Right, so give me a second to restart this Guitar Pro track. So, here's the bit where I keep the gain boost. Now, before I do anything, so, I'm not touching the guitar whatsoever. Hands are completely away. Show you how cool this gain boost is. Right, let's try that again with the gain boost activated. Alright, sorry, give me a second. You may have been able to tell there, partway through my headphone fell out. Luckily I didn't mess up this time. Alrighty, so I'm going to switch the Guitar Pro track over now, turn the gain boost off, switch to my bridge pickup. Here comes the intro to Keel Hold. A little bit messed up at the end there, but let's restart that one and activate that gain boost. There it is. Right. Here we go again. Well, of course I had to mess up that one. Try that again. Hopefully this will work. You know what? That wasn't perfect, but to say that I'm still learning that, I'm gonna take that. Hope you didn't mind that sound over too much. Hope I didn't mess up too much. Cheers for that one. Oh, there you have it. The story of this absolute steal that I got from Cash Generators. Honestly, it is well worth popping in there every so often, just seeing what they have. I mean, you might find gems like this. Also, if you're a starting out guitarist as well, this is probably worth having a pop in there and seeing if there's anything you like and it's within your price range. I mean, the most important thing about a guitar is it has to be aesthetically pleasing. Otherwise, you're not going to want to pick it up and play it. So, my advice, pop in there, have a look, see if there's a guitar that you like. I know you'll have a friend or a local luthier or a music shop that can change the strings for you and get it all set up. Well worth it, trust me. Also, I felt like doing this setup of the video, so talking through everything, was a lot better than dragging out the slideshow to make it ridiculously long to talk about all the things I've talked about. If you like the way that this is set up, let me know in the comments. This has given me a good idea of what I can do when I'm building guitars, how I can set the video going and stuff like that. Which, if you'll have seen my most recent post on my Facebook page, that should be hopefully happening soon. However, if you've not got me on Facebook or you've not followed me, luckily for you, my social links are down in the description as always, so feel free to follow me on there. If you did enjoy the video, please feel free to give it a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. That's all from me in this one, so I'll see you in the next.